Hi there, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Josh.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are the Hiking Fools, bringing you unique personal insight on Glacier National Park that you can't get anywhere else. In this episode, we are discussing Piegan Pass, and we'll cover some of the things you need to know before you go, our personal experience and stories and tips and tricks on how to enjoy this hike. Piegan Pass, there's a lot that comes and goes from this, Sarah. I mean, you can go to the pass, you can come back, you can go to the pass and continue on into another area from Sayi Bend over to Many Glacier Valley. You can go to a saddle that hangs between Pollock Mountain and Piegan Mountain. You can climb Piegan Mountain, and earlier in the trail, if you veer off, you're going towards Sayi Pass. So this trailhead, located at Sayi Bend, which is just to the east of Logan Pass, and get there early. There's probably 20 parking spots as you start to venture out. So make sure you get a spot at Sayi Bend or use the hiker shuttle. And you embark on this hike just right up a creek, following that along, and you have a lot of options.
Yeah, as Josh said, this trail leaves from Sayi Bend, and it's about 9 miles total if you go up to the pass and back. And the first little section is along the creek there, along Sayi Creek, and you kind of veer off into the forest pretty quickly. You got a lot of spruce and fir trees. And within a couple miles, you kind of break out into some high alpine meadows, some multi-level meadows of flowers. It's Preston Park, and it's super beautiful. Let me back up a little. You do have a couple trail junctions. There, you'll get to your first one, and it'll kind of veer you towards a different location. Just always follow the trail towards Sayi Pass until you get to your final junction. It'll say Sayi Pass to the right and Piegan Pass to the left. You stay to the left, and that'll actually you'll be at a creek there, and that'll be your last point to be able to filter water. If you don't want to carry a ton, there's a little bridge there, and filter your water. And then it kind of gains some steep elevation from there and somewhat change to a moderate level as it veers off below Cataract Mountain, kind of heads up towards the pass. In some years, you will encounter, if you get there too early in the season, there's a couple of snowfields at the base of Cataract that you will have to traverse across. So that's where hiking poles are helpful. And if you're really uncomfortable crossing them, it's not super steep, but steep enough if you fell, you'd probably slide down a little bit. Not to your death, but you'll have to hike back up. So something on your feet, crampons or little icy spikes, that's helpful to traverse that area there. But a really awesome hike, and I think it's pretty family friendly. Don't get turned away. It is pretty moderately strenuous in the beginning, but if you hold to it, it kind of levels out a little bit. And it's a slow rolling elevation gain. What are our stats anyway, Statman?
Yeah, it's 4.5 miles one way, as you mentioned, to the pass. A lot of different options, about 1,700 feet of elevation gain. So again, as far as a glacier hike goes, moderate, maybe it's spread out a little bit. And Sarah mentioned it, you kind of climb right away through the woods. As far as I'm concerned, this is almost the perfect glacier hike. You can run through lush forests, and then you hit some flowery meadows, the glacier cirque with talus slopes. So you see the glacier almost the entire time. You get to a pass. There's an opportunity for an unbelievable view from the saddle or even the summit. It just has a little bit of everything. And for that reason, I really like Piegan Pass, and I'll do it again and again. In fact, I'm hiking that tomorrow.
As Josh mentioned, glaciers, there are a couple glaciers you can view. So once you break out of the forest and it starts to open up a little bit in Preston Park, veer off to the left, and there's Piegan Mountain, and you got Piegan Glacier in there. And as you round your bend and cross those snowfields and get at the base of Cataract Mountain, look back where you came, because you can see Blackfoot Glacier and Jackson Glacier. So at some point you can see 3 different glaciers, which is really incredible. And you kind of look back on, that drainage down where you came from, and you can quickly see how much elevation you have gained. So it's kind of cool to see back down where your little vehicle is, and you're not even quite at the pass yet. So there's a lot of great views on this hike. I really love the wildflowers. There's so much to see. Download the Seek app, and you can scan some of these wildflowers and identify them. You can buy little pamphlets in the gift shop or other places where you can carry with you and identify some of these. They're pretty incredible. Make sure you stay on the trail, because they are alpine wildflowers, so they've had a struggled life getting to where they are. So enjoy them without stepping on them.
Yeah, good point. Just another reason. This hike has all kinds of my single favorite flower in Glacier, the Explorer's Gentian, and it's just intense. It's a low, dark purple, and it's got 5 leaves. To me, it looks kind of like an old phonograph. It's always sticking upward. We'll call it this, the music of nature, and the color on the canvas of nature. The Explorer's Gentian, also, this hike is actually also called Flower Pass, and the gentian is a late season bloomer. It's rocky, wet soil is where it grows best. And, in fact, another name for it is the mountain bog gentian. And it's just, take a look at it. I've got this photo of, from low on the ground, the gentian with the Piegan Glacier in the background. And just take a look at these. It's late season and they're not easy to come by, but it's one of my favorites. Check it out. Dark purple. You'll know it when you see it.
Yeah, Josh mentioned that this pass is also called Flower Pass. That's because of the immense, beautiful wildflowers in the meadows here that carpet the landscape. During those warm summer months, you can see them all throughout the summer, blooming at different stages depending on the type of flower. So pretty incredible. And Josh mentioned that this trail can go all the way through. So this trail links the St. Mary drainage with the Many Glacier drainage. And once you get up there, it sits in between Piegan, Pollock, and Cataract Mountains. And the pass sits at 7,560 feet. So it's pretty high up there. It's usually really, really windy. So bring something to block the wind, a windbreaker. Bring, if it's early in the season, maybe bring a packable puffy down coat to kind of warm up as you sit there and enjoy your lunch. You're also looking at the east face of the garden wall, which is kind of cool to see. Oftentimes, most people view it from the west side, and that's the Continental Divide as well. So you can see the backside of Bishop's Cap and Pollock and further down Mount Gould, and it kind of veers off towards the cataract drainage into Many Glacier Valley.
Yeah, that's right. It's a very unique place. The things that you can see right from here and where you're positioned, but it crosses the Continental Divide, as Sarah mentioned. So it's kind of cool to be on the CDT. And she mentioned it's windy. And I want to say to some folks, the perfect combination, in my opinion, is as far as clothing and protecting yourself against the weather, is 3 things: a moisture wicking layer underneath, and then a fleece or puffy coat, to create some warmth, and then a raincoat, which will both protect you from the elements and from the wind, kind of a windbreaker. So that's the perfect combination. And I'll tell you what, with a simple shell of a raincoat and either a packable down or fleece item, and you're wearing the first layer, it hardly takes up any space or any weight. And that's the perfect combination for a hike like this, where you might run into any sort of weather.
Be very bear aware on this trail, as you should be with most of the trails in Glacier, but we have encountered a few grizzlies on this trail. We've encountered tracks of black bear and grizzly, and on most of the trails in Glacier, you will have evidence of the bear, not only from the scat, but you can see, well, I call it excavation zones. So it's where the bear has dug into where a Columbian ground squirrel is. And you can see those kind of dig areas because they're diggers. They've got those big long claws and the giant muscle on its back between its shoulder blades. So they're built for digging, and they love ground squirrels. So as you're going along, you can see where the bear has been. And so make sure you're making lots of noise on the trail. You do not want to startle a bear. I like to keep my bear spray up across to my chest where it's quick and easy to grab. Practice grabbing that out, and as if you did encounter a bear and taken the safety off, don't use it. Don't spray it on yourself. It's not bug spray. That doesn't work to deter a bear. It's if you encounter a bear. And you can go, a great resource for learning how to use bear spray is go on the Glacier Institute website. They have a great video out there. And they teach you how to use that and what to do and what to expect if you do need to use it. So that is a great resource before you enter grizzly country.
Absolutely. Glacier Institute, awesome place. And we love the folks over there. In fact, Piegan Pass is a hike that we just did earlier this season with Anthony and Maddie from the Institute and our good friend Eric. And, it's just really neat to be out on an educational hike with somebody that can tell you what you're seeing. And, it really increases the appreciation of the things that these things that you're viewing in Glacier. So, an excavation zone, that's super interesting, Sarah. And I got to say too, one thing to look for is how dark the dirt is, how dark the soil is, because if it's old and kind of dusty, that happened a while ago. But if it's fresh and it's dark soil, that this bear was there not that long ago.
Yeah, and if you're doing what you're supposed to and you're making noise, chances are you scared the bear off, and that's exactly what you want to do. You don't want to startle a bear, especially a soused couple cubs. That's a bad place to be. So make lots of noise, yell out, "Hey bear," as loud as you can. We kind of have a rule that if we're hiking just the two of us, if we're just yakking away, we actually yell at each other yakking. We're not mad. We just want to make a lot of noise so that the bear knows we're coming, and that's a good thing to do in bear country.
So don't judge the hiking fools based on the flavor of conversation that you hear if we happen to run across each other on the trail. And we have a lot more to say, but we're going to take a short commercial break here with our friend Don. But stick with us. We've got another segment coming right up.
Trees with deep roots stand strong, and so do we. Freedom Bank has been rooted in Columbia Falls for over 20 years, serving the whole Flathead Valley with state-of-the-art banking. Whether you're banking from your cabin, campsite, or kayak, we've got you covered. Freedom Bank, rooted here, ready everywhere. We want to be your bank. Give us a call at 892-1776. Member FDIC.
All right, welcome back. We are the Hiking Fools, and today we have been discussing the Piegan Pass Trail. Located pretty centrally in the park, the trailhead starts at Sayi Bend and gains about 1,700 feet of elevation to the pass, which is about 4.5 miles one way. So it's a great hike, and the pass sits at about 7,500 feet. There's a saddle between two mountains, Piegan and Pollock, that we mentioned, and that makes it about an 11-mile round trip. You know, it's an extra mile to get to that, but totally worth it. Then you can look over into that Logan Pass and western area of the park, one of my favorite spots. And if you want to climb the peak, it sits at about 9,200 feet. So that's a 3,300 foot total elevation gain and 13-mile round trip from the trailhead. But there's a couple of options. So you can maybe get to the pass, see how you feel, embark on another mile journey, one way, and see what you think of that and whether or not you want to head all the way up. Because when you get to the summit, Sarah, and we'll talk more about the climb in a separate show, but when you get to the summit, you are sitting right above Piegan Glacier, which is a very interestingly shaped glacier, but you get pretty close to it, and it's a very achievable summit in the park. And at that saddle, I remember last year, 2 years ago, we took our family up there. It's a great hike to take visitors on. And as I mentioned before, offers a lot of things that are characteristic of Glacier Park. But at that saddle, do you remember there's a cairn there? It's just between the two peaks. But the mountain goat was just circling as if he owned the place, which he does. And we were sitting there, having a bite to eat. And it just came closer and closer. Very curious mountain goat. I mean, I don't know what he's after for sure. They're not like the ground squirrels that are coming after your snacks or the Steller's jay that, wants to pick things out of your hand and pick up the crumbs. But the goat was so curious. And we got these photos of the goat with the cairn, with our backpack, and our son in the near proximity, and Mount Jackson in the distance is just one of my favorite pictures ever. But there's, we've seen bighorn sheep on that part of the trail and that goat. And so be ready for abundant wildlife.
Yeah. And to be clear, the saddle that Josh is talking about is the saddle between Pollock and Piegan Mountain. So this is above Piegan Pass Trail. And there is just a little, you're not at a summit, it's just a rock pile, a bunch of cairns stacked there just to indicate you're at another pass. And the wind was just gushing through there. We couldn't hear a thing. We were kind of waiting for the rest of our party to join us. And we were taking shelter behind the rock cairn. And all of a sudden, we heard some rocks crunching and looked behind us. And this goat was just walking up on us to check us out. It was a big male goat. And so we kind of moved around the other side of the cairn to give him space. But he walked right up on us, not afraid at all. And so we got some pretty incredible pictures and video of it. But make sure you give all wildlife a great distance. Don't, if it approaches you, back away, give it plenty of space, and don't feed the wildlife at all. These, like Josh mentioned, the little critters, they try to come up and steal stuff from you. Don't let them do that. Don't leave your pack unattended, because we definitely don't want to feed any wildlife and get them habituated, because they just, a fed animal is a dead animal. Oftentimes it's a bear, but that habit doesn't break. You can't break that from a creature in the forest. So make sure that you're keeping all your belongings close to you and don't let the animals get a hold of anything.
That's right. And plenty of animals on this trail. And Sarah, this is where we've seen, it's pretty rare, but pine marten we have seen on this trail a couple of times.
Yeah, they're so cute to see. We were coming up through the forest level there, and we had one cross the trail right in front of us, but they've got kind of a long body and a big teddy bear face. They're in the weasel family, and we saw two on this trail, so that was pretty cool to see. But once you're at the pass, actually, marmots are in abundance, and they're so gregarious. They're just so funny to watch, and it's almost like they want you to photograph them. You know, they go up on this high point and lay down and look off as though, look at what I get to look at every day. And so they're so funny to watch. You got the Columbian ground squirrels, of course, and if you listen closely, when you're at Piegan Pass, you're actually between Pollock and a little bit of Piegan and Cataract. You're the closest to, and Cataract has all these big, chunky, talus, slopey, crumbling, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's great habitat for pikas. And so when you're there having your snack or your lunch at Piegan Pass, listen closely and you can hear the little pika squeaks. And they're very, very difficult to find. I've tried to photograph them so many times and gotten little streak pictures where you get kind of close enough, you finally see them and get ready to take a picture and they dart off. But they're actually in the rabbit family, and they're off. They're little farmers. They're gathering wildflowers and any sort of vegetation that they bring back to the entrance of their home, and they dry it out and turn it into hay, and then they bring it into their home for the winter because they don't hibernate. So that's their food for the winter. So they're busy little things, and they hardly ever stop moving, but they're so cute, and it's kind of a treat when you get to see them. But they're kind of all over that area, so listen closely for them.
Yeah, you love all these little creatures, and they are fun to watch. And I'll never forget, I'm going to try to nail this here, my friend Doug over at the Glacier Conservancy, they have a citizen science project, which is super cool by itself, but he loves calling it, I believe it's the Picking Up Pika Poop near Preston Park at Piegan Pass. And it's just check it out, visit their website, I think, to be a part of that. But it's a place where a lot of animals congregate. You've heard us talk about, 8 to 10 different species of animal. Again, going back to, I'm sorry, I guess I'm a little biased. This is one of my favorite hikes in the entire park.
And don't forget to scan the grassy parklands that rise up behind you there as you're sitting at the pass, because we've seen bighorn sheep that they kind of use this area as a roadway, a highway between the two drainages on the other side. So the Said drainage and the Lunch Creek drainage, it's kind of a little highway there. And look on the rocky slopes, because you often see the mountain goats kind of perched up there too. So it's not just the little creatures, you see the big ones too. And it's almost every time we're up there, we see bighorn sheep and goats.
Yeah, for sure. That makes it fun. You're sharing this area with the wildlife. So again, be respectful but share it with folks. I mean, you're hiking with other people, and it's just a small crowd gathers at a safe distance. And it's just really fun to hear everybody's amazement at what we're getting to witness.
So the trail somewhat dead ends once you get to Piegan Pass. You'll see a little trail that kind of goes a little further on past where most people stop. Take that trail because you can look down on a beautiful turquoise unnamed tarn, and it's just below Pollock Mountain, and it's pretty incredible. You're kind of looking down the Cataract drainage, and there's some waterfalls down there, but there's a really, really beautiful tarn, and sometimes if you go early season, it's still covered in snow. But if you go later on, it's a beautiful turquoise color, and it's worth just taking a few more steps. And most people just stop when you get to the pass. But I think I prefer to go a little bit further and look down there.
Yeah, that's a great advice, Sarah. When you get to the pass, continue on just a little bit. You can see all the way down into that drainage, some beautiful gems, little pools of water. And I'll tell you what, there's some great lunch rocks here at this pass. And in other words, terrific little shelves that you can sit on and look in that direction. And just as a point to think about, we think about what you're bringing. Sarah and I like, bringing a couple of bars. I've mentioned before, I can live on carbs and granola bars, but pack a sandwich and some things you can hit, a little applesauce or smoothie packet or a gel. Hammer gel is killer on a hike just to get you through.
I like extra protein, so you can bring those little almond butter packets or, a meat stick. That's always helpful for me. I love to bring on the protein, and make sure whatever you bring in, it's pack in, pack out, leave no trace. So take your garbage with you, and like we said before, don't leave your food or your pack unattended. Those little creatures, they like to rob you.
So Piegan Pass, awesome hike, a lot of options from here. Moderate to strenuous in certain areas, depending how far you're going to go. Very enjoyable for families, even. And we like to take visitors here if we can because it shows a little bit of everything that Glacier has to offer. And I recommend you set out with enough food, water, energy, ambition to summit this mountain if possible, because you can just see centrally located in the park. You just see so much, and it's just all of it's beautiful. And lastly, want to just provide that warning too, depending on the season. Along the talus slope, snowfields remain for quite a while. So bring your trekking poles, some spikes, and understand that hopefully somebody's gone before you. Otherwise, you kind of cut your step into the snow, and you just want to make sure that you're prepared. Again, dress warmly. You've got a lot of wind up at the pass, as is the usual case. And I think you're going to really love this hike.
Yeah, and allow for this being a 9-mile total hike, allow for about 5 hours. And start early, get a parking spot, take your time, take plenty of rest. Don't let yourself, your heart rate get too out of control because like Josh said, it's a moderately strenuous at times trail. It does give you some breaks, which is nice, but just take your time and allow for, about 5 hours.
Piegan Pass, one of our absolute favorite hikes, and we've got a ton of shows on more of the hikes we enjoy and how you can enjoy them. So check it out. Follow the podcast on Apple or Spotify. I'm Josh.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are the Hiking Fools, encouraging you to always go.